Hey everybody, I'm Scott Wikle. You're listening to My Kind of Country. Thank you so much for joining us on a Monday night. I get to talk about my very favorite country singer of all time tonight, and it's an honor to have this lady on the show. She has just released a brand new book. It's called Playin Possum, My Memories of George Jones. And folks, you're going to want to get this book, I guarantee it. There's a lot of great, truthful information in here. And I'm very happy to have the lady that authored the book along with her co-author with me both tonight. It is a pleasure to welcome to My Kind of Country Ken Abraham and Nancy Jones. How are you guys doing tonight?
Wonderful, wonderful, and thank you for having us.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much. Great to be with you, Scott.
Well, it's great to have you both on the show, and Nancy, it's sure good to hear your voice again. It's been a long time since we've had a chance to talk, and I'm so glad we're together tonight.
Oh, I am too. Thank you.
What was the inspiration for you to go ahead and do this book at this particular time?
Scott, I don't know if you knew that I had died from COVID. For 10 minutes, I had no pulse whatsoever. And I had lost all my hair, all the muscles in my legs and arms. I could not even sit up. I got down to 92 pounds, and I had a fungus that set up in my lungs, and I lost 70% of my lungs, and I had to learn how to walk again and all of that. But, you know, I was in ICU for months after months, and I just, when I was laying there, I was thinking, you know, I can't die because I have to tell how great and how wonderful George Jones was. And some of the things that is told on George, some are true, some are not. I just wanted the truth out there. I wanted people to know that George Jones really and honestly was such a spiritual man that a lot of people did not know. And that's why that I was with him trying to fight the demons and get them out and have a wonderful man that I could share. And that is what I worked on in this book. And I don't care if I had to come up with some of the bad things, and I did. I just went ahead, Scott, and told the truth. And this is the truth. This is a truthful book.
Well, I can tell by reading it, and I think that even the negative stuff, there's really kind of a positive message behind all of it, because when you read on and really go through what happened with George and what you went through and the wonderful things you did to really save his life, it's such a positive message. And I know you talk about your illness at the end of the book too, and it's such a powerful thing. And I think that the Lord above really had a hand on both of you through this whole journey.
Thanks, Scott. You really hit it on the right. You hit it on the head, because that was the goal that we were trying to achieve in writing the book. We wanted to tell the truth, as Nancy said, but in order to do that, you got to let the reader know how bad a shape George was in at certain times in his life. But, you know, nobody is beyond hope, and the grace of God is there for all of us. And Nancy would pray, and she would believe in George, and that there was a good man in there, and she just wasn't going to give up on him. And so our goal in writing the book was really to help some folks have some encouragement and some hope that, you know what, no matter what I'm going through, God is greater. He is able. He can see us through. There's an old story in the Old Testament about those guys, though, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Remember those guys? And they said, Nebuchadnezzar, we don't know if God is going to deliver us or not, but we got to tell you this: He is able to deliver us, and that's the message we want. We want people to know from this book that He is able. Whatever you're going through, He is able to deliver you.
Amen. Ken, you are just a fabulous wordsmith with the way that you write, and I've read many of your other books that you've done. You've won a lot of well-deserved awards. I just recently read the Randy Travis book, and again, that's just a beautiful book, and I was so inspired by that, and I feel the same with this book. How did you and Nancy come together to collaborate on this?
It was actually Randy Travis, believe it or not. Whenever I was working on Randy's story, somebody mentioned to me, they said, you know, if you really want to know how Randy and George got along, you need to talk to Nancy. And you know, Randy looked at George Jones as a hero, as a father figure almost. And of course, George looked at Randy. He loved Randy Travis and the fact that Randy was singing traditional country music. He wasn't going to be singing rock and roll, or anything else. Randy was going to sing traditional country like George. And so they had a great appreciation for each other. So I had a chance to sit down with Nancy and tell some of the stories about George and Randy. And, of course, some of them were so funny, and some of them wound up in Randy's book. So when Nancy decided she wanted to write her book, I was just honored to say, well, I would love to help you do that, with Nancy. And Randy was the guy that pulled us together on it.
Folks, I do want to let you know you can go to nancyjonessignedbook.com and you can get a copy of Playin Possum, My Memories of George Jones. And Nancy, there are two versions of this book. There's a regular book version, and there's also a deluxe version, right?
Yes, and that deluxe, oh my God, the deluxe part, it would make a perfect Christmas gift. And I'm just so proud of it. It is just so, it's gorgeous. And I had to order a bunch of them for my family, and I think it would be wonderful for Christmas. And you can go to nancyjonesbooks.com and get it there, and you can also get it on Amazon.
All right. We will have all that information on our Facebook page for My Kind of Country, and I definitely recommend you pick up several copies of this because, like Nancy said, it would make a great Christmas gift, too, and it's a fantastic read, and anyone who is a country music fan, a George Jones fan, or even if you're not, if you're just a person who enjoys a true life-inspiring story, I think this is a book that you would really love, for sure. I wanted to ask you, in George's book, I Live to Tell It All, What are your thoughts on that book, and what are some comparisons that maybe people will take away from your book that they might not have read in George's book?
Well, when that book came out, it was a lot of telling, of George, of his drinking and his drugs and those kind of things, but it wasn't anything in there that was showing the spiritual part of George, and that's the part I wanted. I wanted people to know that when George was wild and carrying on, I could talk to him about, well, your mom's watching you from heaven. That would calm him down. Or I would read some scriptures out of the Bible, and when he would sit there and say, can you read me that one more time? That was the thing that I wanted people to see. They already know that he was raised in all kind of Cain, and he was a little bad boy, but I wanted them to see that there was a good George Jones. It was just those demons that was in there, and so hard to get out. I got the first one out, and I thought I did a good job, but no, there was plenty more in there. But yet, together, me, George, and the good Lord, we fought, and we got all of those demons out, and those are the things that I want people to see and realize that he was really a funny man. And a loving and giving man. And that's what I have in my book for people to see. And I didn't cut any corners. I told the truth on everything and did not sugarcoat nothing. And that's why that it was kind of hard for me to write it. I didn't know how the fans would take it, how mad they would be at me for telling the truth. But I wanted to tell the truth. And I think I don't call this my book. I call it God's book. And he is the one that wanted me to put it out.
Too, is Tom Carter wrote that book with George, and Nancy, of course, was involved in all that. But that book ended in 1996. It came out in 1996. Some of the most important events in George's life took place in 1999. When he hit that bridge, he was driving not too far from where we're speaking to you from here today, hit that bridge in the car, had that awful accident, and then during his recovery period is where he decided he wasn't going to drink anymore, wasn't going to smoke anymore. There was a prayer that he prayed. Nancy can tell you about it, that he prayed his own prayer. It wasn't people just praying for him. It wasn't even Nancy praying for him at that point. It was George's own prayer that made the difference.
And Nancy, you were on the scene when that accident happened, right?
I ran all the way from my house down to that bridge, and he didn't believe in seatbelts. I used to tell him all the time, put your seatbelt on. He'd say, I'm going to make them work hard to get me out. Well, they did. It took 2 hours to get him out of that car, and what he did was it slid him under the dash, and so they had to use the jaws of life to get him out. And he died twice in the helicopter to the Vanderbilt Hospital, and, it was just unbelievable how he lived through that. But I'll never forget when we was home in 1999. The doctor said, "Why don't you make him walk and get him back to exercising?" Well, we were out at the farm, and I said, "Let's go walking." So we walked a little piece from the house, and there was a little bridge there. So he sat down there, and he said, "Honey, I can't go any further. Can you go get the golf cart?" I said, "Yes, I can." So I'm walking up the hill to get the golf cart, and I heard him praying. And he said, "God, if you get me through this, I will never have another cigarette. I'll never do drugs. I will be the perfect husband that my wife wants." He said, "And I just want to get through this and live the rest of my life a good man." And from 1999 to 2013, I had the perfect husband.
Oh, that's
he
wonderful.
never took another drink.
And Nancy, I would be remiss if I didn't ask about George's music. I've kind of noticed since he's passed away, there really hasn't been anything that's come out on him. Is there plans to release some of his music or re-release, or is there some things that have not been released that are planning to be put out?
Well, we're working on a few things, and I'm hoping that they go through. But, I'm going to do everything and anything I can to keep his legacy up and keep him out there, because to me, there's nobody can sing like George Jones. I'm sorry. And I just feel like that he loved country music so much. I mean, he would lay down and die for country music, and he loved it. And he was a ballad singer, and being that, he used to tell me, in order to sing a song, you got to feel it. You got to feel it in your heart. And that's why I think that George's music was just absolutely the best and most. I mean, it was like people working every day could relate to that kind of music. So yes, I am working on some things, and I do hope that they go through.
What happened to the stuff from the George Jones Museum? Are there plans to do another display or something with the stuff?
Yes, I do have plans for that. It's all stored right now. I've got quite a bit in my home, but I have people that are looking at that instead of just having like we had there. We had a dinner theater, we had a rooftop bar, we had that, and then the museum. I don't want any of that. I just want the museum. So that is what I am working on now, to get something like that back out.
Oh, that would be wonderful. My wife, daughter, and I had a chance to go see that before it closed, and it was absolutely wonderful. I've got a lot of pictures, and it was just absolutely mesmerizing to see all the work that you put into it. And I'm very glad to hear that. I hope that people will be able to enjoy what I got to see there.
You even had the big old rocking chair there. Remember that, Scott?
Sure did.
I got a picture in that rocking chair, too. By gosh, I do.
All right.
Nancy, if you don't mind me asking, what are your thoughts on the George and Tammy television series that was out recently?
Oh, I don't mind you asking at all. I was never interviewed, didn't even know it was coming out until it did come out. And to my opinion of that, I think they're all lies. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it like it is. That it was something that they turned into Hollywood, and I think the fans were starving for a George and Tammy show, and that they would have done anything to be able to see this. But as far as I'm concerned, I was never interviewed for it, never knew anything about it, and I was told by Kathy Sherrill, which is Billy Sherrill's daughter, that she watched it, and she said, "I'm glad you didn't watch it, because it's nothing but a bunch of Hollywood lies." But I'm hoping with this book, I mean, stop and think, Scott. Georgette was only 3 or 4 years old when they got a divorce.
Yeah.
So, how can she tell a story of her father and her mother when she was so young? And I did find out people that they used to get the stories from. I have no idea what they're talking about. But it turned into Hollywood. And I hoping that this book, which I started long before this movie came out, is that I'm hoping that this book, someone will pick it up and then really tell the truth.
Do it right.
Yes.
Absolutely. That would be wonderful. Well, folks, again, I'd like you to go to nancyjonessignbook.com and get a copy of Playin Possum, My Memories of George Jones. And you can get an autographed copy there. You can get the special deluxe edition. And I promise you, it's a page turner, and I read it a lot faster than I thought I was going to, and I'm getting ready to read it again because there's a lot of information in there and truthful information. And I hope that it inspires people, as I said earlier, and I also hope that it brings a whole new generation of fans to George Jones music, because George Jones is the very greatest country music singer of all time. He's the greatest singer of all time, period, as far as I'm concerned. Anybody wants to argue with me, I'll be open for discussion, but you're not going to convince me otherwise.
I agree with you. You know, you can get it on Amazon. Order it today. It'll be at your front porch in the morning.
Scott, did you get a chance to take a look at those pictures in the book at all?
Oh, there's some great pictures in there. Yes.
Fans are going to love this book just for the pictures. If you're like me and you can't read real well, you can at least look at the pictures.
Well, there you go. Well, I'll admit I usually go to the pictures first, but then I go back through them as I read the book, because you can kind of look at the pictures in order of what you're reading, So I guess that kind of gives you a visual of some of what you're reading. But
there are 32 pages of George Jones pictures and Nancy Jones pictures. 32 pages of color pictures in this book. The fans are just going to love it as a keepsake, a treasure in their library. And not only that, the story is going to be one you want to pass on to your kids as well.
All right, well, we're going to play some of George's fabulous music for you. Nancy and Ken, thank you so much for taking time to be on My Kind of Country.
Thanks so much. We appreciate it.